Ladies and gentlemen, let me start by asking you a question. Have you ever walked into a room and felt an inexplicable chill? Like someone's words or even their silence carried a weight you couldn't quite decipher. It's a tough feeling to confront, but here's the truth. Not everyone will like you. Sometimes they'll even hate you, and they might not tell you why. Today, we're going to unpack 9 reasons why this happens, not to dwell on negativity, but to learn, grow, and reclaim our power. When someone harbors resentment or dislike toward you, it can feel personal and deeply unsettling. One of the most liberating truths to embrace is that their feelings often have little to do with you and far more to do with them. People carry their life experiences, fears, insecurities, and wounds into every interaction. Sometimes your presence unknowingly brushes against these tender spots, triggering reactions they may not even fully understand. This is what makes their negative feelings less about who you are and more about what you represent to them. Think about it. When you encounter someone who exudes confidence, how do you feel? For some, it's inspiring. For others, it's intimidating. That difference lies in the lens through which people view the world, a lens shaped by their self-perception and past experiences. If someone grew up feeling overshadowed or undervalued, your confidence might remind them of what they perceive as their own inadequacy. They might not even realize why they feel uncomfortable around you. They just know something doesn't sit right. The issue is not your confidence, but the unhealed wound it highlights for them. This dynamic plays out in countless ways. Your joy might trigger someone's sadness. Your success could ignite someone's feelings of failure. Your kindness might remind them of a time they were vulnerable and hurt. These triggers operate beneath the surface, often unnoticed by the person experiencing them, but they create tension and resentment that can manifest hostility. It's important to understand that this isn't your fault. You are not responsible for managing someone else's unhealed emotions. This understanding doesn't mean you should dismiss their feelings outright. Instead, it invites you to approach situations with empathy. While you don't need to carry the weight of someone else's emotions, recognizing the humanity in their reactions can help you navigate conflict with grace. When we understand that people's negative reactions are often rooted in pain or fear, it becomes easier to respond with compassion rather than defensiveness. This doesn't mean accepting mistreatment or diminishing yourself to make others comfortable. It means seeing the bigger picture. Understanding triggers also allows you to look inward. While you shouldn't take on responsibility for others' feelings, it's valuable to ask yourself, am I contributing to this dynamic in any way? Have I unintentionally been dismissive or critical? Growth comes from both self-awareness and external understanding. Their feelings are not a reflection of your worth or value. The way someone reacts to you is shaped by their story, their struggles, and their healing or lack thereof. Your responsibility is to stay true to who you are, knowing that not everyone will celebrate your authenticity. That's okay. Letting go of the need for universal approval is an act of liberation. When you understand that people's triggers are not your burden to bear, you free yourself to live with confidence, compassion, and clarity. Let their reactions teach you, but never let them define you. Projection is one of the most common ways people unconsciously deal with their inner struggles, and understanding this concept can fundamentally shift how you interpret others' behavior toward you. At its core, projection is when someone attributes their own feelings, insecurities, or flaws to someone else, often without realizing it. It's a defense mechanism, a way for people to deflect uncomfortable truths about themselves by seeing those traits in others instead. When someone seems to dislike you, they may in fact be grappling with parts of themselves they find difficult to face. Imagine you're someone who strives to be assertive and confident, and you encounter someone who perceives you as arrogant or bossy. Their reaction might not stem from anything you've done, but from their discomfort with their own inability to assert themselves. Rather than confront this gap in their own life, it's easier for them to label you negatively. This process often happens beneath their awareness, but the result is the same. They react to you not as you truly are, but as a mirror for something they dislike within themselves. Projection can show up in subtle ways. Someone who struggles with dishonesty might accuse others of being untrustworthy. Someone who feels insecure about their own abilities might call you out for being too ambitious or show-offish. It's a way for them to externalize feelings that are too painful to hold on to. If they can pin their discomfort on you, even subconsciously, it gives them temporary relief from their own inner conflict. This doesn't mean you should excuse or tolerate harmful behavior, but it does mean you can approach it with a deeper understanding. When someone criticizes you in a way that feels out of proportion or unrelated to the situation, it's worth pausing to ask yourself, is this really about me? Often you'll find that the answer is no. Their reaction is rooted in their own inner dialogue, not in your actions or intentions. What's powerful about understanding projection is that it allows you to step out of the emotional tug of war. You no longer need to internalize someone else's negative energy as a reflection of your value. Instead, you can see it for what it is, a reflection of their own struggles. This awareness doesn't just protect your sense of self, it can also foster compassion. Recognizing that someone's harsh words or cold demeanor might be their way of grappling with their own pain allows you to respond with empathy instead of anger or defensiveness. Of course, this doesn't mean you let others off the hook for their behavior. Boundaries are essential. You can understand why someone is projecting without accepting mistreatment. The key is to hold space for their humanity while also protecting your own peace. By doing so, you free yourself from the weight of their judgments and affirm your own worth. Their projection is their burden to carry, not yours to shoulder. Living authentically is one of the most liberating yet challenging choices you can make. It means showing up in the world as your true self, your thoughts, values, and emotions aligned, unfiltered by the expectations or judgments of others. However, this very authenticity can provoke strong reactions in people. Why? Because authenticity has a way of highlighting both the beauty and the discomfort in others. It can be inspiring for some, but for others, it can trigger feelings of inadequacy, envy, or resistance. When you live authentically, you become a mirror reflecting back to people what they admire or fear about themselves. Many people spend their lives wearing masks to fit in, avoid judgment, or meet societal expectations. They suppress their true desires, opinions, and dreams to feel accepted. When they encounter someone who is broken free from those constraints, someone unafraid to speak their truth, pursue their passions, or embrace their uniqueness, it can stir up complex emotions. For some, your authenticity will be a breath of fresh air, a reminder that they too can live boldly. For others, it will feel threatening, a painful reminder of the masks they wear and the dreams they've put aside. The discomfort others feel around authenticity often has nothing to do with you and everything to do with their relationship with themselves. Your decision to live openly and unapologetically might challenge the narratives they've built about how the world works. They might think, if they can do that, why can't I? That internal questioning can either inspire growth or provoke resentment. The latter often manifests as criticism, rejection, or even hostility. It's important to recognize that authenticity isn't about being liked by everyone. In fact, the more authentic you are, the more polarizing you might become. Some people will gravitate toward your energy, while others will pull away. This isn't a failure, it's a sign that you're living in alignment with your true self. The relationships you form when you're authentic will be deeper and more meaningful, because they're built on genuine connection, not pretense. being authentic also requires immense courage. It means risking vulnerability, rejection, and misunderstanding. It's about standing firm in your identity even when others disapprove. This can feel isolating at times, but the freedom it brings is worth the discomfort. When you're true to yourself, you no longer carry the exhausting burden of pretending to be someone you're not. You stop living for the approval of others and start living for the fulfillment of your own values and purpose. The world needs more people who are willing to live authentically. Your courage to be yourself creates a ripple effect, encouraging others to shed their masks and step into their truth. While not everyone will celebrate your authenticity, remember that their reactions are not your responsibility. What matters is that you're living in a way that feels true to who you are. Authenticity is your superpower. It sets you apart, makes you magnetic to the right people, and allows you to live integrity and purpose. Vulnerability is one of the most misunderstood and feared aspects of the human experience. It's the willingness to be open, to show your true emotions, and to let others see parts of you that you often keep hidden. While vulnerability is at the heart of connection, courage, and growth, it also feels risky. For many people, the fear of vulnerability becomes a significant barrier, not just to their own personal fulfillment, but to how they relate to others. This fear can create tension, resentment, and even hostility, especially when someone else's willingness to embrace vulnerability brings their own avoidance into sharp focus. When you're vulnerable, you're exposing your authentic self, flaws and all. For some people, this level of honesty is empowering and deeply humanizing. It draws them closer, creating space for genuine connection. But for others, your vulnerability can feel deeply unsettling. It forces them to confront parts of themselves they may be trying to ignore: pain, regret, fear, or shame. Instead of seeing your openness as strength, they might view it as weakness, oversharing, or even a threat to their carefully constructed emotional armor. People who struggle with vulnerability often carry a deep-seated fear of being hurt, judged, or rejected. They've likely experienced moments in their lives where being open led to pain, and as a result, they built walls to protect themselves. When they encounter someone who willingly tears down those walls to live authentically, it can feel confronting. It's as if your vulnerability is holding up a mirror to their fear, showing them what they're avoiding. This discomfort can translate into criticism, judgment, or even disdain toward you, not because of anything you've done wrong, but because of their unresolved relationship with their own emotions. The fear of vulnerability is also rooted in the belief that strength means never showing weakness. Society often perpetuates this idea, teaching people to suppress emotions, toughen up, and present a polished image to the world. When you reject that notion and embrace your imperfections, it challenges this deeply ingrained mindset. For someone who has spent their life adhering to the never let them see you sweat philosophy, your willingness to be real can feel like a direct challenge to their worldview. Understanding this dynamic can help you navigate these reactions with empathy rather than taking them personally. When someone reacts negatively to your vulnerability, it's usually a reflection of their own discomfort, not a critique of your choices. Recognizing this allows you to stay grounded in your truth without being swayed by their judgment. It also gives you the opportunity to offer compassion, even if only silently, as they wrestle with their own fears. Being vulnerable is not a weakness. It's an act of courage. It means you're willing to be seen for who you truly are, even when it feels risky. While some people may resist or reject that, others will be inspired by your bravery and drawn to the authenticity it creates. In the end, vulnerability is not just a path to deeper relationships with others. It's a gateway to your own freedom and self-acceptance. Setting boundaries is one of the most essential acts of self-care, yet it's often misunderstood by others. Boundaries are not walls designed to keep people out. They are bridges that define where you end and someone else begins. They protect your time, energy, and emotional well-being, allowing you to show up as your best self in relationships. Yet, when you establish boundaries, especially with people who are unused to them or who benefit from your lack of them, you might encounter resistance, confusion, or even outright hostility. The idea of setting boundaries feels uncomfortable because it involves saying no or drawing a line in the sand. To those who've grown accustomed to you saying yes or overextending yourself, your newfound limits can feel like rejection. They may interpret your boundaries as a sign that you care less about them or that you're being selfish, even though boundaries are about preserving the relationship, not ending it. This misunderstanding can lead to tension as people adjust to the reality that you're prioritizing your needs alongside theirs. It's important to understand that everyone approaches boundaries through the lens of their own experiences. Someone who is raised to believe that love means sacrificing endlessly for others may view boundaries as cold or unfeeling. They might think if you really cared, you wouldn't say no. This belief is deeply ingrained and often subconscious, but it can create friction when you start asserting yourself. Your decision to set limits can challenge their understanding of relationships, making them question their own choices or feel insecure about their place in your life. Some people see boundaries as barriers to control. If someone is used to relying on your availability or emotional labor, your boundary may feel like a loss of power. They might push back, test your limits, or try to guilt you into reverting to old patterns. This isn't necessarily malicious. It's often a result of fear or discomfort. They're adjusting to a dynamic where they can no longer take your time or energy for granted, and that shift can feel unsettling. What makes boundaries even more misunderstood is the way society often celebrates overwork, overcommitment, and self-sacrifice as virtues. Saying yes to everything is seen as noble, while saying no can be perceived as selfish or unkind. When you prioritize your needs, you might face judgment, not because you're doing anything wrong, but because you're going against the cultural norm. People may label you as difficult, distant, or uncaring, even though setting boundaries is one of the most loving things you can do for yourself and for them. Understanding these dynamics can help you stay firm in your boundaries without feeling guilty. While others may misinterpret your actions, remember that boundaries are not about keeping people out. They're about ensuring healthier, more sustainable relationships. They allow you to give from a place of abundance rather than resentment or exhaustion. Not everyone will understand this, and that's okay. What matters is that you honor your own needs while holding space for the growth and understanding of those around you. Envy is one of the most pervasive yet hidden emotions that can quietly disrupt relationships. It often operates in silence, lurking beneath the surface of interactions, and many people who feel envious may not even recognize or admit it. When someone envies you, it's rarely about who you are as a person. Instead, it's about what you represent to them, a reminder of something they feel they lack or have failed to achieve. This unspoken tension can lead to resentment, criticism, or passive-aggressive behavior that seems inexplicable, leaving you wondering what you did wrong. Envy arises when someone perceives a gap between their reality and your perceived success, happiness, or qualities. It could be your career achievements, your confidence, your relationships, or even your ability to remain authentic in a world that often rewards conformity. When someone feels that gap, it triggers an inner dialogue, often rooted in insecurity. Why can't I have that? Or what's wrong with me that I don't? These thoughts can be painful. And instead of processing them constructively, some people redirect that discomfort outward, targeting the person who unknowingly became the mirror for their unmet desires. What makes envy particularly damaging is its tendency to manifest indirectly. Rarely will someone come out and say, "I feel envious of you." Instead, their feelings might surface as subtle put-downs, dismissive comments, or an inexplicable distance. They might criticize your successes, downplay your efforts, or avoid celebrating your wins. This behavior isn't about you, it's their way of managing the discomfort envy creates within them. It's easier to tear someone else down than to confront their own feelings of inadequacy or fear of failure. It's important to recognize that envy doesn't make someone a bad person. It's a natural human emotion, and we've all felt it at some point. The difference lies in how people choose to handle it. Some use envy as inspiration, letting it motivate them to grow and work toward their goals. Others, however, allow it to fester, creating barriers in their relationships and distancing themselves from people they actually admire. If someone in your life is acting out of envy, it's not your responsibility to fix their feelings, but understanding the root cause can help you navigate the situation with empathy instead of taking it personally. Envy also thrives on the illusion of perfection. People often see only the highlights of your life, the successes, the confidence, the moments of joy, and assume that everything comes easily to you. They may not realize the struggles, sacrifices, or setbacks you faced along the way. This limited perspective fuels their envy as they compare their full reality to what they believe is your effortless success. While you can't control how others feel, you can protect your peace by staying grounded and focusing on your own journey. Their envy is not a reflection of your worth, but of their inner struggles. Respond with kindness when possible, but also set boundaries when needed. Remember, you don't need to dim your light to make others comfortable. Keep shining, knowing that your success doesn't take away from anyone else's potential. It's simply a testament to what's possible. Every moment of tension or conflict in life is an invitation to grow. When someone harbors negative feelings toward you, it's natural to feel hurt or defensive. But hidden within those moments lies a profound opportunity for self-reflection, learning, and resilience. The way others react to you, whether it's through criticism, rejection, or hostility, can serve as a mirror reflecting aspects of yourself that you may not have fully explored. It can also teach you about the complexities of human relationships and the strength required to remain grounded in your truth. Growth often begins with self-awareness. When someone reacts negatively to you, it's easy to dismiss their feelings or label them as unreasonable. But the first step in turning these moments into opportunities is to pause and ask yourself some honest questions. Did I contribute to this dynamic in any way? Is there something in their criticism that holds a kernel of truth? What can I learn from this interaction? This doesn't mean blaming yourself for their feelings. It means being open to the possibility that every experience, even the difficult ones, has something to teach you. The lesson is about boundaries. If someone dislikes you because you've set limits to protect your time or energy, it's a reminder of the importance of prioritizing your well-being. It's an opportunity to practice holding firm in your boundaries without guilt or over-explaining. Other times, the lesson might be about communication. If misunderstandings arise, it can be a chance to clarify your intentions, listen actively, and approach the situation with empathy. Even when someone's feelings seem unwarranted, you can still learn patience, compassion, and the art of not taking things personally. These challenging moments also allow you to build emotional resilience. When someone disapproves of you, it can trigger insecurities or old wounds. But instead of letting their feelings diminish your confidence, you can use the experience to strengthen your sense of self-worth. Remember, their opinion of you doesn't define your value. It's simply their perspective, shaped by their own experiences, biases, and emotions. Learning to separate your identity from others' judgments is one of the most empowering skills you can develop. Conflict also teaches us about the diverse ways people navigate the world. Someone's negative reaction to you might stem from their upbringing, cultural norms, or personal struggles. By seeking to understand their perspective, you expand your capacity for empathy and connection. This doesn't mean agreeing with or excusing harmful behavior, but it does mean recognizing that everyone's actions are influenced by their own journey. Perhaps the greatest growth opportunity lies in reaffirming your commitment to authenticity. When you face negativity for being true to yourself, it's a test of your courage and resolve. Will you shrink back to avoid discomfort, or will you stand firm in your values? Each time you choose the latter, you become stronger and more aligned with the life you're meant to live. Challenges, especially those rooted in others' reactions, are not roadblocks, but stepping stones, paths to greater understanding, deeper resilience, and a fuller expression of who you are.